Hi guys, welcome back to Vedic Astrology. Today we are going to be talking about the February monthly horoscope for the year 2026. And it is important for us to understand that what are the key dates that are going to be coming into play in terms of the planetary transits. So let's jump into and look into the screen and understand what are the shifts that we must observe date-wise. Now folks, as you can look into your screen here, you have Sun placed in the sign of Capricorn, and in Aquarius, that shift will be coming in from Feb of 13th onwards. Then you have Mercury in the sign of Capricorn in the start of the month. However, it will be moving into the sign of Aquarius on February 3rd. And the important shift which is going to come into picture is that he will get retrograde from February 25th onwards. Then you have Venus in the sign of Capricorn again at the start of the month itself, and it will shift into the sign of Aquarius on Feb 6th. Mars continues in the sign of Capricorn, though in combust status, and it is going to be shifting into the sign of Aquarius from February 23rd onwards. Jupiter throughout the month is going to be stationed in retrograde motion in the sign of Gemini in Punarvasu Nakshatra itself, while Saturn is in Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra. That shift has happened within the sign of Pisces from January 20th onwards. Rahu is in Shatabisha Nakshatra in Aquarius, while Ketu is in Purva Falguni Nakshatra of Venus in the sign of Leo itself. Now Aries, as you guys can see on your screen here, you have your Lagna Lord, Surya or Sun, placed in your 10th house in the sign of Capricorn. In fact, most of the planets remain in consistency in the start of the month in the sign of Capricorn itself, which means that your karma, your career, your efforts is going to be taking primary focus at the start of the month as well. However, this shift starts with a movement of Mercury and Venus in the earlier part of the week, in the first week itself, where they will go ahead and become conjunct in the sign of Aquarius with Rahu. Now, Rahu is the planet of expansion, and therefore it is going to be crucial for you to understand that this shift is getting indicated into your house of gains, wish fulfillment, desires, goals and objectives, achievement coming into picture. And this indicates that now the focus is shifting from your public status, from your karma, from your efforts towards the social gains, the network leverage that you can bring to the table. 11th house is indicating or the presence of Rahu in conjunction with Venus, which happens to be your second lord and your seventh lord, which is your partnerships as well as your wealth. Getting in conjunction with Rahu in the 11th is a massive Dhan Yoga coming into picture. And this is indicating some positive output for you folks, even though Mars remains combust throughout the course of this month, which is your Lagna Lord. Now, starting with career and job perspective, what I'm noticing is that until February 13th, Sun is placed in your 10th house, which is providing it immense Digvala directional strength coming into picture, especially being the 5th Lord in the 10th house itself, gaining the support of Mars, your Lagna Lord as well. And this indicates that you will continue to bring in great amount of creativity. Spotlight is going to be on your career, on your efforts, on your initiatives. It's fabulous time for students who are preparing for something, especially their graduation examinations, any kind of study, educational related initiatives coming into picture. Clever indications or smart strategies coming into play from your speculative gains as well. You will be devoting enough amount of research, time, intellect to make things happen. For people who are in relationships, it's again indicating an effort coming in from your side towards your romantic partner. However, as the planets shift to the 11th house, Mercury moves on Feb 3rd, Venus shifts on Feb 6th, the focus is going to now be towards collaboration. You are going to be networking. You are going to be collaborating with people through social media, through various channels, and therefore figure out a mechanism as to how you can leverage your efforts in terms of deriving gains, in terms of reaching to the fruition of the efforts that you've been making so far. This is not going to be a month, Aries, where you should be looking forward to work alone. This is going to be a period where you've got to collaborate with people and make sure that you are multiplying on the output that you're chasing. Now, coming in from a finances perspective, this is a strong period or the strong month from gains perspective. Rahu is already in your 11th house, and the shift of your 3rd lord and your 6th lord coming into the 11th is indicating Remember, Rahu seems to be having a great relationship with Mercury as well. And therefore, when this shift comes into your 11th house, there is a clear indication that your own effort, your courage, your karma, or your daily schedule and regimen, growth in terms of your job prospects, promotion coming into picture in terms of expansion of your work, all those probabilities are going to be heightened. It is also indicating a strong connection of some sorts in terms of romantic pursuits, romantic relationships, magnifying in your life, Aries, because 11th house is the house of desires. And thus, if you've been chasing some connection, you've been trying to, come into a close collaboration with a new business partner or life partner for that matter as well, there is a solid indication that you are going to find success in those areas. However, you've got to understand that this presence of multiple planets, arrival of Mercury and Venus, especially in conjunction with Rahu, is indicating that you might be triggering multiple sources of income as well in the month of February. So you've got to be on the lookout on that front too. Now, the important bit from a Mercury perspective to note is that around Feb 25th, he will be coming into a retrograde motion, and this means that some sort of a delay could come into picture with respect to your payment materialization, with respect to the final, cash inflow that you can anticipate. All of these planets sitting in the 11th house are giving an aspect towards your 5th, your house of creativity, romantic relationships, speculative gains, your house of fame, and Ketu is present there throughout. I had mentioned that Ketu is present in the nakshatra of Venus, yet there is going to be some sort of separative tendencies coming into picture, and therefore collaboration of people who are far away from you, foreign from you, who are from a different ethnicity, race, religion, background, those kind of networks may also step up and support you in some shape or form. However, Ketu will continue to indicate separation of your interest from some of the 5th house matters. There could be challenges for parents also in this aspect, and I would want you to pay due course of attention towards your children during this period. As we move further from a relationship standpoint, I would want to call out that Venus's presence in the 11th house from February 6th onwards is an excellent position to be in from a social life perspective. I see lots of intermingling of new friend circle, new friend connections coming into picture. Venus in general is the karaka of relationships as well, and he is the lord of the 2nd house in your case, forming massive dhan yoga, but it also indicates possibility of you finding some financial gains through your collaboration with your friend circle, network circle. Romantic relationships, new relationships being forged in your network may also come into picture for my single audience. In fact, the possibility of additional relationships in your life is also highly probable because of the presence of Rahu. I think this is going to be the month, and especially with Valentine's and whatnot coming up in the month of February, a lot of you would be looking forward to start new connections, make new collaborations. Remember, Saturn is placed in your 12th house. So somewhere or the other, the expenses or your effort being directed towards not so great outcomes, unnecessary effort or unnecessary time waste coming into picture is also highly probable. People who are in foreign lands, people who are looking forward to collaborate with people cross borders, I see good possibility both in terms of relationships as well as from a career progress standpoint is coming into picture. Saturn continues to give an aspect, third aspect towards your 2nd house, which means that the delay in terms of your financial gains or impact on your speech is also highly probable. So you've got to be on the lookout on that front. Important bit for you to note is that your 6th house is getting an aspect from Saturn, as well as the 6th lord is placed 6 places away from itself in the 11th house. Now, this is a massive trigger for you folks in terms of overcoming the challenges at your work front, overcoming any kind of debt related issues or any kind of obstacles that are coming your way. You will find a good mechanism to pass through it. Remember, once Mercury is coming into retrogression, that is where things might become a bit dicey, and you've got to be very careful in terms of navigating your contractual obligations, or else you could be in a red line. Moving on to the other aspects of a relationship, I would want to call out that some of you might have the possibility of forming new romantic connections within your friend circle itself, or it is highly probable that you might graduate your relationship with a friend to a next level and may want to explore more in terms of your human connect. For my married couples audience, this is a time where I anticipate you guys are going to be enjoying a lot of social outings, meeting new network of people, doing joint partnerships, collaborations, some sort of fun activities also coming into picture. Jupiter throughout the course of this month, being the lord of your ninth house and your 12th house, is placed in retrograde position in your third. Now this is again because Jupiter is giving an aspect back to your ninth house itself. Overall, I anticipate that there is going to be good support in the luck factor coming into play. It is giving an aspect to your 5th house and 11th house as well. Therefore, partnerships and collaboration plus growth in terms of the social circle is definitely anticipated. Aries, the theme of the month remains that you are going to be looking forward to expand, find good fruition of your efforts and gains. However, the second connection with the 12th lord coming into the third house, which is the lord of losses into the third, is indicating that somewhere or the other you will be digressing with your efforts as well, and that is what you will have to look into. You'll have to figure out a way to keep a check on your priorities, your focus through the course of this month, because that is going to be defining factor in terms of the ROI of your efforts that you can get. Remember, this month is about reaping efforts, but how much of those efforts are directed properly is going to be crucial. From a health perspective, what I'm noting is that Mars is combust through the course of this month, and therefore some sort of hidden inflammation or blood pressure related issues, blood or bone related issues as well could be bothering you during the course of this month, Aries. The good part is that for the though for the major part of the month it is placed in the 10th house, 3 places away from itself. That means though there could be some botheration for you coming into play with unexpected situations at your workplace, but the great part is that at the fag end of it, even Mars is going to be becoming conjunct with the rest of the planets in your 11th house, which means that if you are able to sustain through that rough, tough, difficult period, you will be able to figure out mechanism to convert that into an opportunity of gains for you. From a health perspective, I would want to call out that 11th house denotes your calves, feet area, legs area, your shin as well for that matter, and therefore Mars presence there indicates that there could be some sort of trouble, growing pains coming into picture for you. The key remedy throughout the course of this month that you may want to practice is, worship sun, offer some water to Surya as well, because that is going to support you addressing the challenge of that combust Mars. It is a crucial bit that you have to keep in mind. Now guys, if you've understood and enjoyed the insights that I've brought to the table from a February monthly reading perspective, I would request you to please smash on that like button, subscribe to Vedic Astrology, and keep watching. Om Namah Shivaya, Har Har Mahadev. So Taurus, as you guys can see on the screen here, you have Jupiter placed in your 2nd house in a retrograde motion. You have Ketu in your 4th, Rahu in your 10th. It is becoming conjunct with Mercury and Venus later in the course of the month. And it will be conjunct with Sun as well as with Mars. Whilst at the beginning of the month, most of these planets are placed in your 9th house in the sign of Capricorn, and you have Saturn placed in your 12th house. Now, the important bit for you that you must focus on is that you have this entire party of 10th house placements, coming into picture in your sign of Aquarius, which means your social status, your karma, your efforts, your initiatives, your public reputation is going to get activated through the course of this period. By the end of this month, you will have this massive Panchgrahi yoga coming into your workplace. And what you will realize is that even your Lagna Lord Venus is also entering your 10th house on February 6th onwards, which means that you are going to be the face of everything that you are going to be doing at your workplace, in your organization, in your institute, in your education place, or in your business. Now, first and foremost, from a career and job perspective, what we notice is that this is indicating to be one of the most busy periods of the year for you folks. February is giving a very solid indication because Sun, that depicts your authority, which is the lord of your fourth house, is forming a good Kendra, Trine, conjunction Lakshmi, Narayan Yog in your ninth house itself, along with Mars, which is the planet of action. He's your 12th lord as well as your 7th lord placed in your ninth house. And then you will notice that the presence of these two planets is going to bring some degree of authority, some degree of authoritative interactions for you at your workplace. You'll have to be very careful in terms of navigating your relationship with your bosses, superiors, elders, managers at your workplace. There could be confrontational situations that might also come into picture, but at the same time, fourth lord's presence into the ninth house is indicating possibility of work related long distance travel coming into picture. For many of you, there is also a possibility that you might find some opportunity to work from a far away location than your current place of work, which means change in residence, some sort of foreign connection, foreign collaboration for you folks Taurus is definitely coming into picture. It also indicates that there will be a tough working scenario as long as Mars is placed in your ninth house, because he is after all the lord of losses coming into the ninth. But being the lord of the seventh into the ninth is also indicating that if you're putting in the right efforts in your business, in your relationships, some sort of an expansion, support of luck is definitely coming into picture, given that Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn. So it's a crucial bit that you've got to understand and make full use of this situation. As you navigate further, the combination of Sun and Mars will also be moving into your 10th house itself, where all of these 5 planets are going to be coming into conjunction. And as I was calling out, this is going to be a tremendous period of expansion of work coming into your life. There is a definitive call out of Mercury's retrogression from February 25th, which means that any kind of new contractual relationships coming into picture must be kept on hold. Now guys, Mercury happens to be the lord of your second house and your fifth house, and his placement into the 10th is indicating that you are going to bring a massive Dhana Yoga, a very strong Dhana Yoga through your own efforts, through your own karma. He is getting the support of friendly Rahu in the 10th, and Rahu is placed in its own sign, in its own nakshatra at this point in time. So a new opportunity that can provide you a higher pay grade, new sources of income, something of that sort might also materialize for you Taurus in this direction. You will be using your own wit, your marketing skills, your communication to market yourself, to present yourself in the right light to make things happen. Then Venus, which is your Lagna lord as well as the lord of the sixth house, is placed in the 10th. Now directionally, that is not a great situation for Venus to be in when compared to a Rahu or Mercury for that matter in the 10th house. However, it's a very positive indication that you are going to be immersed with workaholic situation, or if not even workaholic, if there wouldn't be any options for you, I mean, the work is going to automatically trickle down. And I think the better approach that you might want to take is that enjoy the tasks that are coming your way, especially for people who are employed, working in a job sector, in services. This is a great period for you to leverage your skills. Your daily routine is going to require you to be following a strict regimen. Now, Rahu and Venus combination also indicates that for some of you, there is going to be romance possibilities coming at your workplace. More on that in a minute. Sun, as it shifts into the 10th house along with Mars, both of them are going to bring in great directional strength as well, along with Rahu and Mercury. And therefore, somewhere or the other, the right impetus coming in your life for you to accomplish your goals seems to be very possible. You see, your entire 4-10 axis is majorly getting activated at this point in time. This means that you might have to stay away from home. Ketu is placed in your 4th house, and it will require you, it will push you to chase your dreams, targets, goals on a day-to-day basis whilst you're stepping out, whilst you are interfacing with people. The other bit that you will have to understand here is that your 7th lord Mars will also be moving away 4 places from itself into the 10th house, and therefore collaboration with your business partners, some new kind of an ideas, brainstorming sessions that ignites starting something new in your business might be a possibility. Many of you might want to start a new side hustle with your hubby, with your spouse as well. Those possibilities are there. Remember, all these planets are giving an aspect back to the fourth, so there is going to be a general lack of peace coming into picture. You are going to be absolutely busy. Mars is giving an aspect to your lagna as well as to your fifth house. If you're watching from a Rashi perspective, that is to your first house itself, and that means that there will be high degree of energy coming into you, but at the same time there is going to be a lot of effort that you might have to put forward. Some of you might be quite possessive, quite protective of your romantic partners, of your children, as well as your speculative investments into the stock market and stuff. Now, you've got to understand that from finance perspective, the shift is that Saturn is placed on Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra, which is ensuring some degree of stability coming into picture, albeit the gains will be slow. Yet, I anticipate those are going to be steady gains. There is a heavy activation of the 10th house, which is definitely indicating that your status, your reputation is going to become a karaka for you finding these gains. We have to understand that Saturn from here is giving a third aspect to the first house, which means that there is going to be some degree of stress, especially if you are watching from a Taurus moon standpoint, folks. There is going to be an increased amount of stress throughout this period. But Saturn is promising consistent income, consistent gains to your life. He is also giving an aspect towards your fifth house and your 8th house as well. Now, your 8th house into the sign of Sagittarius is getting a dual aspect both from Saturn and Jupiter. There is a possibility that some unexpected financial gains might also materialize for you. After all, your 9th lord is placed in the 2nd house in retrograde motion. So that's a good situation from an unexpected income, sudden gains coming into play. So finances seem pretty decent and sorted for you, Taurus. When we move further from a relationship standpoint, what I notice is that if you are married, you are married to your work. Yes, there is going to be such a high degree of association, such a high degree of pull towards your karma, towards your efforts, that you wouldn't have much time to explore anything other. I think the important bit is that at some point in time, especially in the first 2.5 weeks, your spouse, your partner could feel neglected as well. But once Mars makes a shift towards your 10th house, that is where more engaging collaboration, more support coming in from your spouse is also indicated. Now, Venus in the 10th, as I was alluding earlier, is indicating some sort of workplace romance coming into picture, or maybe an interaction with a colleague. So be watchful if you are not in the right space, or if this is not suited for your career. You've got to be careful, because Rahu tends to give a lot of heat, a lot of excitement to such kind of collaborations as well. You've got to understand that from a relationships perspective, Mars is giving an 8th aspect later on into your 5th house. So some sort of argumentative situations can come up for people who are in relationships. Your 5th, Lord is Mercury, and yes, for the most part of the month, it is going to be in your 10th house itself. It begins with its placement in the 9th. But what I'm anticipating is that as Mercury is reaching to its retrograde position, there is going to be some sort of a disarray. There is going to be some sort of miscommunication that can come into your relationships as well. So be very careful as to how you are navigating that element in your life. Now, from a health perspective, Jupiter is sitting retrograded in your 2nd house. It is giving an aspect towards your 6th as well as towards your 10th house. But overall, with so many planetary positions coming into the 10th, it is indicating a very high stress environment, high stress operations coming into play. After all, your 6th lord as well as is placed into the 10th, as well as your 8th lord is in retrogression. So some bit of an impact I definitely anticipate, Taurus. You could feel chest pains, cold, cough situations, heart related challenges if you are facing. Then you've got to be extremely careful on that front as well, because most of these planets placed here are giving an aspect to your 4th house, and then you have Ketu's placement as well. So something which is very small, very hard to detect, that can be bothering you at this point in time. It is also possible that there could be a buildup of anxiety sort of issues coming into play, and you might find general lack of peace because of all that is happening in your life through the course of this period. Now, what I will recommend you folks from a remedy standpoint as well, that maybe it is not a bad idea for you to figure out a way to pacify that Saturn, your 10th lord after all, which is placed in your 11th house. He's indicating promising gains, but yes, it's a stressful situation. Maybe lighting a diya, a small lamp which is made of sesame oil, at your home, mornings or evenings, just lighting up that diya in your temple or in your place of worship, whatsoever you prefer, is going to be an excellent solution for you to overcome these challenges. Now, folks, as you guys can see on your screen here, Gemini, you have a massive cluster of planets coming into your 8th house and your 9th house. Gemini, as you all know, that Dave, I'm not a huge fan of luminaries coming into the 8th house, and Sun's movement into the sign of Capricorn along with Mars, which is in exaltation in your 8th house at this point in time, is a bit of a concern for me, because that could bring some bit of unexpected activities into play, but it also indicates some sort of positive gains coming into picture, because that Vipareet Raj Yoga being formed with Mars being the lord of the 6th house exalted in 8th, it is the lord of 11th house and exalted in your 8th. So unexpected gains are still indicated coming your way because of this exaltation. Let's understand the energy which is coming into picture here. Your Lagna Lord Mercury, or if you're watching from a Gemini moon sign perspective, is moving into the 9th house of Aquarius on Feb 3rd, the start of the month itself. And this is a positive indication, because it is giving a heavy energy shift from that house of crisis, transformation, speculative upside or downside, sudden shifts towards the 9th house of dharma, principles, luck, fortune, destiny, father figure, etc. And therefore, some sort of a benediction coming in your life early in the start of the month itself is highly indicated. This is a great relief, especially with Mars and Sun still placed in your 8th house. I think the shift of your Lagna Lord towards the 9th is a positive bit. However, folks, you've got to be very careful of the fact that Mercury is the planet which is going to be retrograding on February 25th, which means some of your long distance travel plans might have some sort of a shift. They could be getting impacted in some shape or form. So all those people who are looking for long distance trips planning, be on the lookout on that front. Be careful on that front, because some shift is coming into picture. Now, from a career and job standpoint, what I would want to call out here is that Sun is entering into your 9th house from February 13th onwards, which is definitely indicating that some sort of higher form of learning or some sort of long distance collaboration is coming into picture. Sun is the lord of your hard work, effort, 3rd house, mass communication, media, and therefore reaching out to larger audience, maybe initiating something from a social media standpoint and getting started in that space could come into picture from the second half of the month. But the first half could feel quite demotivating, dissatisfying, because your effort, your hard work will be going into areas which may not be, resulting into an immediate output, great outcome. This also entails that some of you could be doing a lot of research, reskilling, upskilling yourself during this period and preparing yourself for the golden hit which is promised after some time. Remember, Jupiter is still in retrogression. It is also giving an aspect towards your 9th house itself. That is a crucial picture coming into play, that there is that expansionist support from that Jupiter, but trine sitting to it as Rahu, and therefore that expansion or that sudden need to take a shortcut and find the solutions could also be there from that perspective. Remember, people who are looking for any kind of publishing activities, teaching activities, consultative engagements, any kind of travel where it requires you to meet, intermingle with your customers in long distance durations, or for people who are pursuing post-graduation programs in education, PhD programs as well, this is a very decent time for you to take the right initiatives on those fronts. You've got to understand that the shift of Venus will also happen into your 9th house. Venus happens to be the lord of your 12th and the lord of your 5th. So the 5th lord moving 5 places away from itself into your 9th is giving indication that your speculative gains, your investment strategies, your romantic life is going to see some positive shift. Again, foreign collaboration or foreign travel is definitely looking on the cards, or if you are working in any of those industry domains, you might be finding the right success. From a finance perspective, we've got to understand that you have Jupiter's blessings with it placed in your 1st house, yet he is retrograded. He is the lord of your 7th and your 10th. So your karma remains your priority, but it may not be yielding the output as you still anticipate. That Cheshta Bal is still there. Digbal at the Lagna position of Jupiter is not bad at all. From a finances perspective, though, I see that Venus's shift into your ninth house from Feb 6th is a very strong Dhan Yoga, because your fifth lord is moving 5 places away. Bhavarth Bhavam coming into picture, getting in a good dignity in the ninth house. Luck is definitely favoring you, and any kind of measures you are taking in terms of expansion of your income seems to be materializing. Maybe the gains could be coming in from your travel journeys, it could be coming in from your foreign collaboration, some sort of positive input or benediction from your seniors, mentors, gurus, teachers, your customers, your clients who are at a powerful position might be coming into picture from the second half of the month. You need sun's support as well to reflect that on you. I do not mind Mars at this point in time, because he is after all the lord of your gain, sitting in exaltation, so some positive impact could come into picture unexpected, least when you anticipate. From a relationship standpoint, you've got to understand that Jupiter is retrograded in your first house, and he is giving those aspects to your fifth, seventh, and ninth. And therefore, there could be situations that there are certain aspects of your relationship, in your romantic partnership, in your business relationships, in your spousal relationships, that you could be thinking, you could be rethinking the dynamics of relationship, the power dynamics that are coming up with your counterpart. Now, with the activation of the ninth house, I think there is a very positive possibility that you might take some long distance travel journeys, either with your partner, with your spouse, with your loved one, some sort of a romantic getaway coming into picture, or these travels might be resulting into some sort of romantic activation as well. You might find somebody intriguing that you might want to build upon your relationship. It could be from a business context as well. So please be very open and communicative when you are traveling. Remember, all of these planets are giving an aspect towards your third house. Ketu is placed in the third. A lot of times it tends to give introverted nature into people. However, because these many planets are activated, I think somewhere or the other you will be even forced to communicate your thought processes and ideas. Saturn is placed in your 10th. Yes, that's not a bad situation to be in, because Saturn's placement in the 10th house generally indicates a lot of hard work. It is giving an aspect towards your 12th house. Some expenses are going to be there on the cards, but both Saturn, Ketu, and Jupiter are giving an aspect towards your 7th as well. So from a relationship standpoint, there could be some degree of dryness, some amount of effort that could be required from your side as well. From a health perspective, the 8th house pressure is seemingly lifted up. So I think all the challenges that you are facing from an 8th perspective, sudden shift in your health, sudden changes coming into play, that relief is definitely going to be there. You are going to find a significant amount of improvement in your emotional, mental, and physical, especially for people for the lower part of your belly. Good improvement could come into picture, but your hips and thighs area still requires effort. Workout could be one of the best things that I can do. I think working out is one of the key remedies that I'm going to be calling out, because of the multi-planetary position in your ninth house itself. Pumping the iron, hitting the gym, doing some sort of HIIT activities, strenuous activities that burn the effort from your perspective, burn the calories from your thigh, hip area perspective, is going to be very positive bit for you to take care of. You've got to also remember that your 6th Lord Mars, albeit he is combusted, but he is sitting in a Vipreet Raj Yoga in your 8th house in exaltation. So whilst there could be some degree of trouble that might come in your life, you will still have the ability to overcome those challenges, and it is only going to improve once it moves into your 9th house as well. So overall, I see that from a health standpoint, this is a positive period of recuperation. You've got to be on your toes in terms of being consistent with your hard work. That is the promise that Saturn is still seeking, given the fact that he's the lord of your 8th house and 9th house, and so many planets are interfacing and interacting with those signs through the course of February. Now, folks, before you jump onto something else, I'll request you to please smash on that like button, subscribe to Vedic Astrology, and keep watching. Om Namah Shivaya, Har Har Mahadev. Now, Cancer, as you guys can see on the screen here, there are multiple planets which are going to be placed in your 7th house, and then that cluster is going to be moving in your 8th house later in the sign of Aquarius. For you folks, this is going to be a tricky month, Cancer. Why? Because this multiple planetary shift coming into the sign of Aquarius in the 8th, especially with the luminary also entering into the 8th house, is not one of my favorite situations to be in, because it is indicating some sort of transformation, sudden events coming into your life, maybe an increased interest towards occult research, reskilling yourself, repivoting yourself. All of that is possible. And more importantly, your Yoga Karaka planet, which is Mars, Cancer, for you, he's the lord of your 5th house as well as the lord of your 10th house. So it's a critical planet for you folks, and it is also going to be coming into your 8th house itself in the fag end of the month. But before we decipher those changes, we've got to understand that your second lord, your Dhanesh, lord of money, income, wealth, is also placed in the 7th house for the first half of the month before it enters into the 8th. It is indicating some gains with respect to your career, job, work. Let's start with your profession itself. See, I see some sort of sudden shift coming into picture for you Cancerians. It could be in the form of a new manager, it could be in the form of transfer of positions of sorts, or some sort of a hidden plot might also be brewing behind your back and you might not be aware. You've got to understand, whilst you have Jupiter placed in retrograde in the 12th, which means support from the bosses, etc., may not be at its fullest. Yes, Jupiter is giving an aspect towards your 8th house as well as your 6th house, yet because it is placed in the house of losses, being the lord of your 6th and 9th, I see some sort of a risky situation. Avoid confrontations and you will have to grind yourself, because your your 7th and 8th lord Saturn is also placed into the 9th house itself. So gains are not coming easy. Saturn is giving a third aspect to your 11th house, and therefore ego clashes, which is what I would want to warn you. Literally, Cancer, you've got to be careful on that front. And ego clashes are not just for the part of the month when Sun enters into your 8th house. That is definitely there. But even through the course of the month, because of this position of Saturn and Jupiter, that risk is coming into picture. Clashes with the authority, with your professors, gurus, mentors, customers, clients, your bosses. Be careful on that front. There could be some risk of penalty is also coming in your way because of this multi-planetary dimension in your 8th house. Now, apart from Sun and Mars that we discussed, you've got to understand that Venus rules your 4th house as well as your 11th house, right, of gains. And his presence is giving a positive, indication of some unexpected shift coming in, some unexpected role position of, or culmination of the efforts that you've put. They might materialize for you, and that is indicating a positive impact from a financial perspective. Maybe something that you are not tracking with respect to your tax remittances, with respect to insurance, any kind of refunds that you had not thought of, you might have missed, but they might work out for you. Inheritance related initiatives might also materialize for you. Mercury, being the lord of your 12th house and your 3rd house, is also placed in the 8th, and that is where, as I was saying earlier, for Geminis too, the risk here, Cancerian, is that your efforts could be going into areas that require you to research, or else you might feel that you are invisible. It may not be, in fact, a bad idea to remain invisible for some time. Keep a low profile. A lot of action is happening in the 8th house. Yes, there is a Vipareet Raj Yoga coming into play with this Mercury. However, Mercury will be coming into retrograde motion from February 25th onwards, and that becomes crucial. I do not recommend any kind of jumping into new propositions from that period. Any kind of new initiatives might backfire, and therefore financial investments made will be more so of losses for the period which is in the last week of February onwards. Until then, unexpected gains might materialize, but after a bit of a challenge. So be watchful on that front, because there is this Vipareet Raj Yoga coming into picture. Now, Venus is indicating some positive shift, but it may not necessarily be, the tax, inheritance, and those clauses itself. I think somewhere or the other, your Lord of Desires gains, your mental peace is also going into the 8th, and therefore something troubling for some of you from a finance perspective is also highly probable. But since we touch upon Venus, we've got to talk about the relationship aspect too. From February 6th, Venus is in your 8th house. And Cancer, I wouldn't be surprised if some sort of a secret affair, some sort of a new relationship, deep intimacy matters with your partner might be coming into picture. This is also indicating, with so many planets being in your second to the seventh house, some sort of a flare up with your in-laws, some sort of a new issue in terms of brewing difficult mental situations. See, Venus is the fourth lord as well, coming into the eighth. Those kind of difficulties for married people could come into picture. However, those third party situations that I'm talking about, you've got to keep that in mind. See, Rahu's presence is there. It is trying to Jupiter. Jupiter will try and hopefully provide you some sanity, but since Rahu is placed in conjunction with this Venus, in conjunction with this Mercury, your effort, your initiative could be going in terms of actually trying to materialize some third party situations, or maybe trying to navigate towards very intimate matters which can be disruptive. Remember, if sun, or when sun also enters, the possibility of those affairs coming to light, coming to the public eye, is highly probable. Rahu is in Shatabisha Nakshatra as well. We've done the shift of Rahu's Shatabisha Nakshatra and Saturn's Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra in detail earlier, and therefore you've got to be cognizant on those aspects that, if anything pursued which is not ethical by any standards, it can put you in deep risk here. From a health perspective, again, caution is needed, because that 8th house energy is deeply activated. All of these planets are giving an aspect towards your second house as well. So your eating, your face, problems related to your teeth, throat, speech, something of that sort could be of concern. You've got to be monitoring your diet very carefully, Cancer people, the kind of water, liquids that you are consuming, fluids that you are intaking in your body, that is going to be important. Mars is sitting in exaltation in your 7th house, and it is later moving on into the 8th, and therefore minor risk of cuts, accidents also remain quite probable. Cancerians, this is one of the key remedies that I might want to call out for this month, is that chanting Mahamrityunjaya mantra may not be a bad idea. It is going to help you protect yourself through a divine intervention throughout this period, given all these planetary energies of the 8th house coming into activation. And I think if you understand the nuances of Mahamrityunjaya mantra, then you will realize that why it is necessary, especially when the house of longevity comes into impact. You've got to remember, Jupiter is placed in your 12th house. He is going to be giving an aspect to your 4th, 6th and 8th. Overall, from work career perspective, he is going to try and give you some degree of sanity. Saturn's aspect to the 3rd house is also crucial, because it will keep pushing you. You are not going to, or you will not be able to sit and relax throughout this period. Your 10th lord gets exalted for the most part of the month in your 7th, and then it moves 11 places away from itself into the gains. So those gains should also materialize for you at some point or the other. If you've enjoyed watching the insights and the details that I've shared in this video, before you jump onto something else, I request you to please smash on that like button, subscribe to Vedic Astrology, and keep watching. Om Namah Shivaya, Har Har Mahadev. So Leos, as you guys can see on your screen here, you have multi-planetary positions, multiple clusters forming in your 6th house and in your 7th house. Now, Sun happens to be your Lagna Lord, and if you're watching from a moon sign perspective, he's your Rashi Lord, who's going to be stationed in your 6th house for the first half of the month, which is indicating this strong spirit of you overcoming any challenges, complications, difficulties coming in your life, and setting a rhythm, because Sun sets, rises, showcases a disciplined approach in terms of how time management comes into picture, and that is exactly what I anticipate for you folks as well. Of course, the spotlight is going to be in your 7th house in the sign of Aquarius, where most of the planets will be making your transit, and even Sun, your Lagna Lord or Rashi Lord, is also going to be entering into that space, which means that through the course of this month, Leos, the focus is entirely going to be on the other, or the opposition, one who is in front of you. It could be your spouse, your business partners, your public image, your business in itself, your karma in a public domain, so to speak. Now, let's start with career job perspective as to what is anticipated here. Of course, this is an excellent period for public dealing. One, because multiple planets are positioned in your seventh house. As we were saying, alluding earlier, it is the other party which is going to be coming into focus, the other aspects of life coming into focus for you. But it also indicates that for the first half of the month, when Sun is in the sixth house, you are going to be putting in tremendous effort in terms of pumping in your hard work, overcoming the challenges coming in your life. There will be a daily regimen schedule in place. I anticipate some of you will be doing extraordinarily well at your job front as well. The reason that I call out is that Mars, albeit he is sitting combusted, he is still sitting in exaltation in your sixth house itself, and Mars happens to be the lord of your fourth house and your ninth house. So he is a yoga karaka planet for you folks, Leos, and it's giving a promise of some sort of benediction, some sort of support from the senior leadership, bosses, superiors, customers, gurus, mentors coming in your life, whereas your energies are also deeply aligned with that association. Now, if you are in a sales role, PR sort of activities, marketing, I anticipate that this is also a great period for you to shine, because somewhere or the other, that rhythm being in place, plus your mindset to address the needs of the people in front of you, is going to position you in the right fashion. However, as you move towards the seventh house position, Sun is going to be transiting into the seventh house in the second half of the month, which is a natural debilitation point for Sun being in the seventh, and that is a Maran Karaka Sthan as well, which means from a Digabala perspective, it is going to lose the directional strength when it moves into the seventh house, and therefore the chances are that from second half of the month, people might try to overpower you, they might try to dominate you in certain discussions or situations. At the start of the month itself, Mercury being the second lord and your 11th lord, so he is having the portfolio of finances for you, is going to be transitioned into the seventh house itself. So quickly touching on the financial aspects bit of it, this is indicating that money is coming in your life through your own wealth management. It is coming in your life through your networking skills, through your social circles. The gains are promised, at least for the first half, for the first 20 days of the month, I would say, until Mercury is coming into retrogression. Any deals that you sign before Feb 25th are going to be pretty profitable contracts as well, and they are going to give you the desired outcome that you anticipate. However, if things are trickling down into the last part of the month, I would want you guys to be cautious, because then things can go haywire. There could be some sort of jeopardy that might come into picture. Venus, being the lord of your 10th house as well as your third house, is placed in your seventh itself. So it's a 10th lord, 10 places away movement. Bhavarth Bhavam is coming into picture. People who are in businesses, self-employed entrepreneurs trying to do something of their own. I see remarkable growth opportunities coming in for you folks as well. Directionally as well, Venus's placement in the seventh house is not considered turbulent. I anticipate some of you could be taking in initiatives towards materializing your relationships, and we'll talk more about that in a bit, because it's the third lord which after all has made a fifth movement and jumped into the seventh house. But the positive bit continues with this presence of Venus in the seventh from a financial standpoint as well, because it is indicating that you will put in your hard work to materialize the outcomes that you are pushing for. Moving on towards the relationships, marriage and love connections in place, this is going to be a high intensity period, Leos, from that perspective. You see, Sun plus Mars plus Rahu, they are all going to be conjunct in your seventh house, along with Mercury, which becomes retrograded at the last part of the month, and Venus. So this is indicating for my married audience a very combustible marriage, very combustible partnership of sorts. There is going to be a lot of fiery elements coming into picture. I see there will be definite possibilities of ego battles also arising. So you've got to be careful as to how you are leveraging your communication. Mercury is the lord of your communication, along with Venus from a formal perspective, and it is coming into the seventh. So Mercury's placement there and then retrogression as well is indicating some sort of a battle, some sort of a difficulty coming in with respect to your alignment with the spouse, with your alignment with your partners. See, from a spousal connection perspective, I also anticipate that this is a time where your partner could become extremely demanding as well. They could expect a lot more from you you than what you could be comfortable at. From a romance perspective, outside of marriage romances, new connections coming up, or maybe your push towards taking your relationship at the next level to graduate it for marital connection could also come into picture. Your Lord of Romances, Jupiter, is placed in your 11th house, albeit it is in retrograde motion, and therefore it is clearly indicating that there are going to be some sort of reviews, some sort of introspection, retrospection that will come with respect to your relationships as well. From a finances perspective, I just missed calling this bit out. See, the fifth lord and your eighth lord, Jupiter, is placed in the 11th house. So yes, financial gains are definitely looking very promising from that perspective as well. Plus, Saturn is placed in your 8th house. So speculative gains may not be as rewarding. However, some sort of inheritance possibilities, taxation related gains, something positively working out in that direction, given the fact that Saturn is getting this aspect from Jupiter as well, is looking quite promising. This Saturn is giving an aspect towards your second house as well. So you could struggle a bit with savings, especially in the second half. But as long as you are diligent with respect to planning, I think you should be able to sail through. Now, moving on with respect to the expansionist behavior that Rahu is going to come bring into play. You have Ketu sitting in your first house whilst Rahu is in the seventh. So Rahu's presence in conjunction with Mercury and Venus for the first half of the month is indicating a lot of shrewdness, cleverness coming in your partnerships, in your relationships. You've got to be mindful of that, and that is where it opens the door for new partnerships in terms of people who are from different background, race, ethnicity, religion. International collaboration of sorts could also come into picture. Be mindful of all those areas. When Sun comes in conjunction, we'll talk about how the eclipse Grahan Yoga comes into play in this case, and we will have to understand that somewhere or the other, post Sun's transit into the 7th house, there is going to be a diminishing impact in your confidence, self-belief also coming into play. That's a difficult spot for Sun to be in. From a health standpoint, you would want to notice that Ketu, which is placed in your first house, is keeping you detached. It is keeping you drained. Yes, it is in the nakshatra of Venus, but yet this is not one of the best situations to be in. The focus is so much on the others that you might be neglecting your own vitality, your own health. I anticipate with the presence of Mars in exaltation in the 6th house along with Sun for the first half of the month, you will still be able to overcome any kind of headaches, migraines, or health related minor issues. Once Sun moves into the 7th house, there could be a potential impact. Some sort of an emotional stress could also come into picture, but the good part is that Mars continues to support for a major part of the month in that placement. So that's a very positive impact coming in place from a health and vitality standpoint. Now, from a remedies perspective, since Sun happens to be your Lagna Lord, your Rashi Lord, Leo signs, it is very important for you to consider to offer Argha. It's by chanting, Bij mantra of Surya or any kind of mantra that you are comfortable doing on a regular basis, including Gayatri mantra, is going to be highly positive because it is going to strengthen your Lagna Lord. It is going to strengthen your confidence, your self-belief, and that is going to be crucial through the course of February. Now, if you guys have enjoyed the insights and the details that I've presented here in this video, I would request you folks to please smash on that like button, subscribe to Vedic Astrology, and keep watching. Om Namah Shivaya, Har Har Mahadev. Now, Virgos, as you guys can see on your screen here, you have multiple planetary positions coming in your 5th house and your 6th house, and these two areas of life seem to be getting activated. The important bit for us to note here is that your Lagna Lord, or if you are watching from a Virgo moon standpoint, Mercury, which is your Rashi Lord, is going to be coming into retrogression through the course of this month. Now, first and foremost, we've got to understand the energy for you folks is shifting towards your 6th house at the start of the month itself, with the first transit of Mercury into the sign of Aquarius. And Mercury's position in sixth is not considered bad, given that it rules the sixth house as well in the Kalpurush chart. And therefore, I see that your house of service, enemies, and disease is definitely getting activated. Now, you are going to be in a problem-solving mode. You are going to be in a head-on collision mode to address the obstacles, the challenges, the difficulties coming in life through the course of this period. The priority will be your job, your service, or the problems that you are facing from your business standpoint, if it is given that it is 12th to the 7th house. For you folks, Virgos, Mercury happens to be not just your Lagna Lord, but also your 10th Lord, and its placement is indicating a very strong activation of career, job, business prospects coming into picture. Starting with this segment itself, this is indicating that you are going to be busy, very busy, and you will be immersed with responsibilities, challenges, difficulties that you may have to face head on. And if you are trying to shy away from them, Virgos, well, there is no solution to it. The sixth house cluster is going to make you workaholic of sorts. After all, your 10th Lord as well as your Lagna Lord is transiting into the sixth house from February 3rd itself. You are going to be looking forward to defeat your enemies, overcome any kind of competition easily as well. Remember, Mercury will also be coupled in conjunction with Venus, that happens to be your second Lord and your ninth Lord. So your destiny, your benediction from your superiors, mentors, gurus, guides, teachers, support of your clientele if you're running your own business, your customers. In fact, your own family support and speech is going to be all immersed into your sixth house energies itself. You will be tackling the problems coming in from those areas, but you will also get great amount of support from all these avenues of life, which is giving a very promising indication from right from the start of the month of February itself. However, as I was alluding earlier, Mercury is coming into retrogression from February 25th onwards, which is indicating that there could be some sort of miscommunication, argumentative situations, misunderstandings coming in place with your subordinates, with peers at your workplace, or it could be a miscommunication with your bosses as well, because after all, Mercury is in conjunction with Venus. So I would recommend that this is a time where you double check your communication. You think before you respond to people. You've got to reflect on your communication pattern, on the choice of words that you are making. At the same time, I noticed that your third Lord and your eighth Lord is Mars, which is sitting exalted in your fifth house. So third Lord, 3 places away from itself, albeit in combustion. But Bhavarth Bhavam coming into picture is definitely indicating some solid effort going in from your side towards your education, towards your romantic pursuits, towards creativity that you can bring to the table from a career, business, work standpoint. In fact, Sun is also in conjunction, who's your 12th Lord. So there is some sort of an indication of difficulties coming in with respect to your investments, because after all, the 8th Lord and the 12th Lord are in conjunction in the 5th house. That's a difficult proposition. Be very mindful, Virgos, with your investment strategies, with your money, in your romantic relationships, because that can be troublesome as well during this period. There could be some sort of edginess coming into play, given that Venus would have already moved out of your 5th house. And therefore, I also see that some sort of unwanted losses could come into picture from a finance perspective. Very quickly talking about the areas. See, from a finance standpoint, I clearly see that you've got to be avoiding taking any kind of loans during the course of this period. Your 6th Lord is sitting 7th. It's a directionally great placement, but it is in the sign of Pisces. However, 8th and 12th Lord are in the 5th house, which is giving me a negative indication. To make matters interesting, Venus is also sitting in the 6th house, which is not great situation for person to push for luxury. I mean, any kind of luxurious items would require you to go for loans. You might choose to procure stuff beyond your capacity, and that is something I would want you to be careful about. The good part is that if you are looking forward to pay off your debt, if you are looking forward to address any kind of loans, this month is going to give you enough possibility, because the Lord of losses or expenses, after all, is going to be forming a Viparit Rajoga. In fact, both Mars and Sun will form a Viparit Rajoga in your 6th house, so they will give you the probability to pay off those loans after some initial bit of a struggle. Moving on with respect to relationships, as I was alluding earlier, Venus is sitting in the sixth house, which is a weak position for Venus to be in the sixth house placement. It's not a great situation from a romance perspective. Yes, Saturn is sitting in the seventh house, being the lord of the fifth, 3 places away from itself, which means many of you could be pushing for new relationships, trying to materialize something in that direction. But I think this month is still going to be more of a waiting game. Things might not materialize the way you anticipate because of Jupiter's retrogression. Once Jupiter becomes direct and gives a direct aspect towards Saturn as well at a later point in time, that is going to become much more fruitful for you folks. Now, the important bit from a relationship standpoint you've got to also remember is that Mars exaltation with combustion could bring lots of possessive energies in you. But once all that shift is going to be happening into the sixth house, you will see that there will be a sense of duty towards your relationship. Now, this is 12th to the 7th, but it is 2nd to the 5th. The impact on married relationships is going to be much different. There could be certain difficulties. You could be way immersed in your work, career, job on a day-to-day front, which might keep you away from all these things. But on the other side of the spectrum, multiple planets 2nd to the 5th house are indicating that you would be trying to slowly consolidate aspects of your relationship. Remember, Mars will give an aspect towards the 8th house from the 5th for the first initial part of the month, and later when it moves into the 6th house as well, multiple of these planets will be giving an aspect to your 12th house. So expenses definitely seem to be going on the rise, whereas in the first part of the month, while there are expenses, you will still have the ability to materialize certain gains because Sun and Mars are going to be giving an aspect towards your 11th house. Mars aspect, by the way, remains in 12th house throughout. So that is a key point to note. I see many of you Virgos brimming full of energy from the last part of the month. There could be some temper issues as well. You've got to be very careful how you are navigating your relationships because Mars aspect, 8th aspect, will be coming in towards your first house, towards your Lagna as well. As you move further from a health loan litigation perspective, well, this is an alert situation to be in. Saturn is, sitting in the sign of Pisces, being the lord of your 6th house, 2nd to itself. And it is, aspecting your 9th house, your 4th house, as well as your ascendant. So whilst this could give some promising indication in terms of you having the ability to fight, to take on the battles, but from your spouse's perspective, I definitely see some degree of an impact coming into picture. The good part is from the second half of the month, once Sun also enters into your into your 6th house, you will have a very strong ability to overcome any kind of health related matters that are bothering you. Mind you, because Virgo, for you, Mercury is becoming retrograded, some sort of mental pain, discomfort, disagreement, lack of peace coming into picture that is hampering your emotional side of things from a health perspective is seeming to be troubled. I would want to say that you must be watching out for any kind of fevers, inflammation, or digestive issues, acidity sort of things could be bothering you. Be careful on that front because that is going to be impacting. Now, from a remedy standpoint, I think it's important that you do take certain measures from a remedy perspective for your Mercury. Donating green colored lentils, green leafy foods to animals, giving that to charity, or maybe giving them in a place of worship where they can be cooked, in a temple, gurudwara. I don't know much about other places of worship, but I'm pretty sure there will be, the kitchen temples or the mosque or the gurudwara temples where food gets cooked. So if you are donating something in that space, because it's your 6-12 axis which is getting activated, and let people or even animals consume food, especially green food, it is going to be extremely, favorable for you to overcome some of the negative aspects of the transitory shift of the planets coming into picture. Now, guys, if you've enjoyed the highlights of what can be anticipated in February and you resonate with what I try to do in terms of my hard work, I will request you to please smash on that like button, subscribe to Vedic Astrology, and keep watching. Om Namah Shivaya, Har Har Mahadev. So Libras, as you guys can see on your screen here, you have multi-planetary positions in your fourth house, and all of them will be shifting towards your fifth house. For you folks, it seems to be a period of creative explosion, a period of smart strategic thinking, investment planning, as well as romantic pursuits. Now, Libras, you have Jupiter placed in your ninth house in retrograde motion. Ketu is in your 11th, but Rahu is in its own sign of Aquarius in the fifth house. And at the start of the month itself, Mercury and Venus will be moving into your fifth house. Now, Venus happens to be your Lagna Lord or Rashi Lord if you're watching from a moon perspective, whilst Mercury controls your ninth and your 12th house. So it's a crucial planets making that shift there. This is a very strong indication of a romance, creativity, speculative gains also coming into picture for you folks. Let's start with the career impact first and foremost. So people, if you are Libras in creative fields, if you are in roles like designing, writing, media related strategies, marketing related things, something where your creative juices are to be flowing, this is going to be your month, because you are going to be doing pretty well professionally in all those areas. In fact, if your job entails interacting with younger audience, with kids for that matter, if you're running, let's say, a daycare facility, or anything of that sort that relates in terms of those services, that again brings solid, positive, innovative growth in your life. Plus, Rahu is indicating that you are going to bring an outside the box thinking to address some of these things. First and foremost, see, Venus happens to be not only your Lagna Lord, but also happens to be the 8th Lord. So 8th Lord coming into in the 5th is indicating that there could be some hidden transformative structure coming in your 5th house aspects. You might be doing something behind the screens, a YouTube kind of a thing, an acting sort of a situation. It's a very positive sign period for Libras for those initiatives. It also means hidden romances could be blossoming, especially with Venus being in conjunction with Rahu. See, Rahu and Venus tend to ignite those sort of flames. Plus, Rahu is a foreign outcast connection, somebody from a different land. That could also be an intriguing factor coming into your life. Then the fact that Mercury, being the lord of your ninth house, is doing a ninth place movement into your fifth, it is indicating that some long distance connection, and also being the lord of the 12th house, so again international connection, long distance connection with respect to your romantic life, with respect to your education, with respect to especially if you want to pursue foreign education of sorts. All of those things from your career perspective are going to be getting activated. At the same time, you've got to remember that Mercury will be coming into a retrograde motion around Feb 25th, which means there could be some old projects, there could be some activities that were undone, unfinished, and your bosses, your clients, your superiors might come back. You know, you've created some designs and your customer comes back to redo some of that effort. So that sort of a shift is also possible because it's 8th to the 10th house. Now you have Sun placed, which is the lord of gains, into your 4th house itself. So I definitely anticipate some increase of your assets, property value, especially in the first half of the month when Sun is in that house, and then later comes into the 5th. Sun's position in the 5th is not bad, especially in this case, because it is going to be giving an aspect back to your 11th house. So your wish fulfillment, desires, gains coming to a closure, coming into fulfillment is highly possible. You know, there is going to be some sort of a romantic gain also coming into picture. If you've been desiring to come in close vicinity of some person, in contact with somebody, or start a new relationship, that possibility is also there because the 11th lord is placed into the 5th house. Mars is sitting exalted for most part of the month in your 4th house itself. Mars happens to be your 7th lord and your 2nd lord. So I definitely see it's a second indication from a finance perspective that this is a month of high risk and high rewards. Mars is entering into your 5th house from February 23rd. So your investments or making your money move, your wealth move into some gambling of stocks, some speculative activities. High risk game plan could be there on top of your mind, but it also indicates that your spouse could be finding some sort of a success, some sort of a promotion, some positive uptick in your business coming into play, in your business partnerships could also come into play. Whilst Mars is going to bring all these chain of reactions when it moves into the 11th, remember it will be, into the 5th, it will be giving an aspect into your 11th house as well. So continuously an increase of your desires is going to be seen through the course of the month of February for you Libras. Whilst Mars remains exalted in your 4th house, there is going to be a general expansion of confidence, yet there could be argumentative situations at home. There could be some sort of discomfort that you might feel from an egotistical situation. Mars will be giving an aspect back to the 7th house, a 4th aspect, whilst in its exaltation, and this could be troublesome for your partnerships, or you might want to dominate your partner as well, because there could be highly futile or volatile situations in terms of arguments that could come into picture between you and your spouse, or with your business partner for that matter. Now, since we are touching upon relationships, I would want to call out that definitely romance is looking to be on a high. A lot of my single audience Libras, you could be looking forward to meet somebody exciting as well as unconventional. See, Rahu is coming in conjunction with your Lagna Lord Venus. Now, this is also possible that there is going to be a lot of heat. There is going to be a lot of attraction that might build up because Venus happens to be your 8th lord as well, and that energy combined with Rahu is an explosive combination. Rahu, as we see, is a planet of expansion. It tends to bring growth, and it tends to bring that at a very fast pace versus compared to Jupiter, which is placed in your 9th house and continuously giving an aspect here. See, Jupiter happens to be the lord of your 3rd house and your 6th house placed in the 9th. So whilst all of this is happening from a relationships perspective here, there is going to be a remarkable amount of dedication, commitment, service oriented mindset that you are going to bring in your connection with your bosses, superiors, customers, clientele, gurus, mentors. So the relationship on that front has to also be navigated. You've got to understand that for parents watching this video, your children could also become your major focus throughout this period, because your Lagna Lord is coming into the 5th house and you might want to do something auspicious, buying them some gifts, something of a luxurious item, because for kids it is usually toys or whatever, but if you have grown-up kids, you could be supporting them financially as well. Your kids could come across rebellious. After all, you have Mars, Sun, Rahu, and a retrograde Mercury position as well, but the talent will definitely be shining for them during this course of time. As you move towards the health segment, you will realize that the health for you folks generally remains good, thanks to because your Lagna Lord is moving to a good position. Saturn is forming a very strong Shatruhanta Yoga, being the Lord of your 4th and 5th. Your Yoga Karaka planet placed in the 6th house is giving you the ability to deal with those issues. But Jupiter sits retrograde, being your 6th Lord in the 9th house. So some sort of stomach related issues, ulcers, uppercut, acidic behavior could be coming into picture. That could be troubling for you during this period. I want to call out that Saturn will be giving a 3rd aspect towards your 8th house, 7th aspect towards your 12th, and 10th aspect towards your 3rd house. So yes, this period could seem busy. There could be in general an impact of your sleep as well. You might not have proper sleep. You could be impacted with some other thoughts or decisions, especially from the last part of February once Mercury is coming into retrogression, and Saturn's aspect is continuously falling there along with its aspect towards the 8th house. Now, from a remedy perspective or course correction perspective, I would want to call out Libras that this is a period where maybe you could be devoting yourself for some sort of spiritual music, bhajans, hymns, something that gives you inner peace. But in general, your mental and emotional peace could also come through creative energy, listening into good quality music, listening into foreign international music as well. That could also be of interest to you. At the same time, doing some sort of Saraswati Vandana is of great help to you. Now folks, if you found this meaningful and insightful, I request you to please smash on that like button, subscribe to Vedic Astrology, and keep watching. Om Namah Shivaya. Har Har Mahadev. Scorpios, as you guys can see on your screen here, your Lagna Lord Mars is in exaltation and it continues for a major part of the month of February as well, which is a very important insight. Mars happens to be the Lord of your first house as well as your sixth house, and he is your Rashi Lord if you're watching from a Scorpio moon sign perspective. Now, there is a cluster of planets which are present in your third house and your fourth house, and the energies for you folks is going to be shifting towards your fourth house of Aquarius through the course of this month. First and foremost, I anticipate that with the exaltation of Mars in your third and coupled with the energies of your 10th lord, you are going to be busy, you are going to be finding yourself unstoppable, action oriented and hyper aggressive throughout the course of this month. I should rather correct myself, not throughout the course of this month, but for the first half of this month, where Sun will be making its transit into your fourth house itself. Starting with career, job and business standpoint, what I see is that the first half of the month is excellent for people who are in the professions of sales, marketing, communication, interaction, because your third house is getting hyper activated. 10th lord being 6 places away from itself, but a malefic planet like Mars and Sun in the third house is a very positive energy. It makes you action oriented, karma oriented, albeit there could be some bit of obstacles, troubles that keep bothering you from your work career front perspective. Especially if you're a businessman, you will see that there will be constant arrival of crests and turfs coming in your cycle of business. In the start of the month itself, your 8th lord and your 11th lord Mercury is going to be coming into the sign of Aquarius in your 4th house, which is a crucial bit for you to understand here, because this is indicating a good connection of your lord of desires gains coming into your 4th, but 6 places away from itself, and there is a hyper activity with this Mercury coming into retrograde motion as well. I want to highlight here that with the presence of Sun entering into your 4th house, there could be a potential possibility of you working from home, or your interest, you might prefer to choose work from home, but at the same time you've got to be very cognizant of some sort of office politics coming into picture. After all, you have Rahu placed in that 4th house with Ketu bang opposite to it. So yes, Scorpios, you've struggled with your career, work, profession throughout your mind. Your interest hasn't been to its fullest in terms of putting your efforts in the right direction. And to make matters worse, a Grahan Yoga comes into picture when Sun is coming in that axis as well. So there could be some hyper activity that might be bothering your peace of mind, and you will have to figure out ways to address challenges from a work front perspective. Mars will also enter your 4th house at the fag end of the month, which is indicating that there is going to be some heightened energy, or your mind could be racing in different directions. Venus happens to be the lord of your 7th house and the lord of your 12th. So his presence into the 4th house is indicating 7th lord is moving 10 places away and the 12th lord is moving 5 places away into the 4th house. Venus's position in the 4th is not bad, but it is coming in conjunction with Rahu. So some sort of international collaborations, import export possibilities on your career work front in terms of new business opportunities from those domains are going to be highly probable. From a financial impact perspective, Scorpios, what I anticipate is that this is going to be a good time for people who are in the real estate space. If you are looking forward to make real estate transactions, maybe decorate your house, do some sort of refurbishing activities, refurnish your house with new amenities, antiquities of sorts, that can come into picture. However, Mercury's retrogression from February 25th is also indicating that maybe signing of a particular deal, closure of a particular deed for that matter, could get delayed and it might spill into the month of March. There could be something that might not work to your fullest satisfaction, because Mercury happens to be your lord of desires and wish fulfillment. Now, Mercury in conjunction with Venus and Rahu in your 4th house is also indicating growth of your wealth, especially for the first half, whilst these 3 planets are there. Rahu at the end of the day, whilst might give you some lack of peace, it is definitely giving one promise that there will be a continued growth of your assets, property, wealth through the course of this presence. Even if you are struggling from your career standpoint, there will be some bit of a multiplication factor that comes into picture. Now, as we move towards The relationship part of the segment, there seems to be some bit of turbulence coming into picture at home front, some lack of peace that could be bothering, and this is where you'll have to be careful because Sun, Mars and Rahu are forming that connection in the fourth house that could impact your domestic peace. It could bring in argumentative situations with your mother or with your spouse. Now, the reason I call that out is, of course, fourth house denotes your mother, but it also denotes your emotional and mental peace. But Mars presence there at the last part of the month with its aspect coming into the seventh house is indicating that there could be general argumentative situations that can come in with respect to you and your business partners or with your spouse. Remember, all of these planets placed in the fourth house are still giving a continuous, colluded aspect towards your 10th, and therefore karma, work related activities or gains coming in from your day-to-day activities from your job are definitely prominent. Mars, after all, being the sixth lord, is sitting 11 places away in the last part of the month and 10 places away in the earlier part of the month from itself. So it is giving a promise of some sort of financial gains through your own effort, through your own karma coming into play. At the same time, the aspect of Mars would also be following into your 11th house when it moves into your fourth, or it continues to fall in your 9th and 10th house throughout the course of the month. So hyperactivity with respect to your initiatives, karma is definitely promised. Jupiter still sits in your 8th house and it is in retrograde motion, which means that some sort of secretive initiatives, some sort of deeper learning initiatives, research of some sorts is activated. The good part is Jupiter throughout for you is continuing to provide an aspect towards your 2nd, 12th and 4th. It is assuring that you are retaining your wealth, growing your assets slowly, albeit steadily, and importantly, keeping a check on the kind of expenses that you're going to be making. The lot of expenses, though, coming into the fourth house is indicating some sort of investment or increase of spending on the home front, which is what you will have to be careful about. Now, you've got to notice that Saturn, which happens to be your 3rd and 4th lord, where all this action is taking place for you guys, is placed in the 5th house. Now, that's a difficult situation to be in. This Saturn is Apanoti. And we've done an incredible video on Saturn's shift into the Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra. If you've not had a chance, guys, check that back into the channel. You'll get a lot of insights with that Saturn's positioning as well. This shift of Saturn is going to be transformative for you folks. And if you are watching this with a moon standpoint as well, you will see some bit of an improvement in your emotions, albeit there will be a lot of seriousness as well that is going to be coupled with you, Scorpios. As I move towards the health part of the segment, I would want to call out that the 4th house rules your chest, lungs, heart, and those kind of situations or those kind of body parts should be of attention to you. High stress situations can bring in anxiety for you. There could be situations where you could feel palpitations, general lack of peace. You could not find yourself comfortable given that so many planets are placed in your 4th house. Doing some sort of breathing exercises, yoga for that matter, or even hitting the gym, taking long walks, etc. are going to be extremely helpful. Scorpios, I would want to suggest here that inculcating an exercise which improves your breathing, example, not just yoga, but swimming for that matter, running and jogging, high intensity exercises, high intensity interval exercises are going to be very suitable for you during the course of this month. From a romance perspective, things look very traditional, old. Maybe you could be in touch with somebody older than you from a romance standpoint, and that might be triggering certain initiatives, but this still doesn't seem to be an optimal period for people to materialize their relationships into a marriage or take them to the next level. The key remedies that I would want to call out here is that Rahu and Mars conjunction is going to be happening in your 4th house. Having a silver coin in your pocket or keeping some sort of silver energy with you is going to be very helpful. You could be wearing a simple silver necklace or bracelet as well, which will support you during this time. Now, folks, if you've enjoyed the insights and the thoughts that I've brought to the table for the course of this month, I will request you to please smash on that like button, subscribe to Vedic Astrology, and keep watching. Om Namah Shivaya, Har Har Mahadev. So Sagittarius, as you guys can see on your screen here, you have multi-planetary position in your 2nd house and in your 3rd house through the course of the month of February. Now, of course, your Lagna Lord Jupiter is sitting in your 7th house in retrograde position, and it remains in that mode through the course of this month, which is going to have implications on your relationships. But more importantly, let's try and understand. See the shift of these planets into the sign of Aquarius in your 3rd house of communication, of your courage, willpower, and your hobbies is indicating that you are going to be hyperactive with respect to your public connections, and that indication is coming with a Jupiter placement too. From your career and job standpoint, I anticipate that this month is going to ignite or fuel a lot of short distance, short duration travels coming into picture. Communication, expression, your smartness with respect to expressing your ideas to the world, to the public, leveraging social media tools, leveraging mass communication techniques, maybe being hyperactive on a platform like YouTube, Instagram, etc., could be very profitable for you through the course of this period. Now, Jupiter's presence in the 7th house, giving an aspect to your 3rd Lagna and your 11th, is indicating that profitable gains are promised. There is a high degree of cheshtabal coming into picture, but this will require some bit of introspection. You will have to look back and see that what are the areas you need to revisit and where do you need to improve. Rahu is placed in your 3rd house as well. But at the start of the month, you will see the first shift coming in with your 7th Lord and your 10th Lord, Mercury, moving in from your 2nd house into your 3rd house. Mercury's movement into the 3rd house is a positive one because it indicates good success for speakers, orators, writers, excellent outcomes coming in from all those areas that leverage communication to the result. Remember, Mercury will come into retrogression at a later point in time, which becomes impactful, and therefore you will have to be very considerate as well about your entire strategy. But you will be willing to take new risks, new initiatives, forging partnerships. Maybe your partner itself could have to travel for a long distance, but in your business partnerships as well, you could be forging connections from people far and beyond. This Mercury will be in influence of Rahu sitting in the sign of Aquarius in its own sign, and then Venus, which is the lord of your 6th house and your house of gains and wish fulfillment, is also coming in conjunction in your 3rd house itself. Now, for Venus, this is not one of the most incredible situations to be in, but with that Rahu and Venus energy, it will have an impact as to how you are going to magnify your efforts, your day-to-day responsibilities, as well as work aggressively towards finalizing your gains. In the start of the month, Sun will remain in your 2nd house with an exalted Mars, and Sun happens to be your lord of destiny, fortune, support from your superiors, bosses, gurus, teachers, mentors, your end customers for that matter, and it is forming a very strong Dhan Yoga with its placement there. And therefore, this looks a very positive sign from a career growth standpoint, but all of it will be driven with your own efforts and your own hard work. Mars happens to be the lord of your 5th house and your house of expenses, your 12th house. So his presence is also indicating that you are going to do well. You are going to bring creativity in your efforts, which is going to be a profitable outcome. All of these planets will be giving an aspect to your 8th house or 9th house throughout the course of the month, which means you've got to be careful with how you are dealing in terms of your decision making, communication, expression of thoughts with your mentors, guides, gurus, teachers, customers. As we move towards the financial aspects of things, Saturn is placed in your 4th house, forming that Ardha Ashtama situation, or the Dhaya thing, which is going to be coming into picture for you folks. Now, apart from that bit, and the reason I'm calling that out from a finance perspective, because Saturn happens to be the lord of your 2nd house and 3rd house, where all of this action is taking place, whilst Venus, being the lord of your gains, is placed in the 3rd itself. So there is going to be, an income coming in your way through your own efforts. You could be making efforts towards getting income through commission-based structures, referral-based models, or affiliate-based connections, which will be driving your income through the course of this month. Then you've got to also understand here that you have 2 planets placed in the in the 2nd house, which is your 9th lord, and that is promising a very strong Dhan Yoga, coupled with an exalted Mars, albeit he is combusted. Therefore, you must use creative tools. Speculative gains in your case, Sagittarius, could be promising, and you might find success in stock market trading or other, real estate related avenues too. Saturn's placement is consolidating your strength, especially with its movement into the Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra. We did a great video on that front. If you've not had a chance, I'll urge you guys to go ahead and check that video as well later. And its presence in the fourth house is indicating that you are going to see a general increase, upliftment, multiplication of your assets coming into play throughout this period with the presence of the Saturn. As we move further from a relationship standpoint, what we notice is that your fifth lord is sitting exalted in the second, and later will be moving 11 places away into the third house, which means that you are going to find in some sort of a positive development coming in your relationships. Albeit you will have to be careful with your choice of words, your communication. You will be active to make things happen. Then you have Jupiter, which is sitting in the seventh house in a retrograde position as well. So my married audience, I anticipate some sort of miscommunication that creates confusion in your relationship, in your spousal connection. Even from your business partnerships perspective, this can be a little tricky because you might feel that your partner is misunderstood, or you are being misunderstood by your partner in terms of your ideas and thought process. Weigh your options. Play the sentences back in your head before you communicate those thoughts to your partner, or else it can become an unnecessary area of turmoil. Jupiter is retrograded from being fourth from its fourth lordship, which means whilst you will find peace being in touch with your business partner, with your spouse, yet there could be in general lack of peace thanks to the presence of Saturn and Saturn's aspect to your Lagna as well. And that is where your relationships could see some bit of a turmoil. Now, from a relationship standpoint, I would also want to touch upon your siblings, because after all, so many planets are moving into your third house, and this is going to bring a deep activation from that front. Overall, I feel this is going to be a promising period for your siblings because they are going to find some stupendous opportunities of growth, multiplication, doing well. But at the same time, you will have to be careful in terms of managing your relationship with the siblings. There could be argumentative situations, disagreement. Remember, there is going to be a Grahan Yoga which is going to be coming into picture once Sun becomes conjunct with Rahu. Plus, there is a third malefic coming into play, which is Mars. And more to that would be the retrogression of Mercury as well at the last part of the month. All of this happening in your third house. Therefore, avoid any kind of situations that brings arguments, not only with your siblings, but also with your neighbors or people living in your community, in your society, around you, in your vicinity. From a health perspective, Sagittarius, what I notice is that you've got to be watchful on your shoulders, arms, throats, that kind of a belt. The reason I call out is there is so much of a confusion in the third house, but at the same time, throat is what I call out because Mercury becomes retrograded and Mars and Sun will be placed there for a major part in the second house as well. So you've got to be, taking due precautions. You could be working out well, you could be intrigued or involved in a lot of hyperactive physical activities in terms of your hobbies. It could be like you hitting the gym, doing some, playing some games like cricket, hockey, or, tennis where you have to use your arms, or swimming where you have to swim using your arms for different strokes. Be watchful of injuries coming to you in those areas. So especially whilst playing sports or doing exercises, you'll have to look out for that. Now, given the fact that Mars is your 12th lord and it is coming into the third and earlier in exaltation in the second, you'll have to be careful about your speech as well, sleep as well, because that could also find some degree of an impact for you. Given that you are a Sagittarius ascendant or, from a Sagittarius moon standpoint, Jupiter becomes a key planet for you folks. I would want you to remember that having some bit of saffron or turmeric, haldi in your food, in your consumption is going to be very helpful. If not, you can just put a small tilak in your forehead, which is going to be acting like a great remedy in terms of bringing in the protection for and from Jupiter. Jupiter's retrogression is going to bring some sort of a repeat structure in your life. It is giving an aspect to your Lagna as well, and therefore this remedy is going to be very crucial. Try and practice this on a daily basis throughout the course of February. Now, folks, if you've enjoyed watching this reading and the efforts that I've put to the table, I'll request you to please smash on that like button, subscribe to Dev Astrology, and keep watching. Om Namah Shivaya, Har Har Mahadev. So Capricorn, as you guys can see on your screen here, you have multiple planetary positions in your first house, and they will be making a shift towards your second house into the sign of Aquarius. And therefore, the stellium is building in your second, which is going to be all about wealth creation, family, money, and the kind of food you are going to be consuming through the course of this month. Your Lagna Lord, Saturn, albeit, is looking stable in your third house, and it is supporting you in all your efforts. Now, we've done a great video on Saturn's shift into the Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra, which I released last week itself. And if you've not had a chance to check out those videos, I'll urge you to look into them post watching this video as well. Now, first and foremost, I would want to draw your attention towards your career, job, business front initiatives. What we notice here is that you are going to be focused on just one agenda. The bottom line for you this time around is going to be show me the money. And the reason I say this is Venus, which happens to be your 10th lord, as well as your 5th lord, it's a Yoga Karaka planet in your case, is placed in your second house, forming an extraordinary Dhan Yoga for the most part of this month. It is making that shift from February 6th onwards. But this means that your karma, your efforts, your day-to-day activities at your workplace, coupled with your creativity, is going to bring some sort of a positive respite growth for you in your savings, in your wealth creation. Then your sixth lord, which is Mercury, and your ninth lord Mercury is again placed in your second house itself. That's a second massive Dhan Yoga coming into picture. And I anticipate that this is going to result into some sort of a course correction for people who are employed, who are working in a job, or some sort of a benediction from your customers, from your superiors, teachers, gurus, mentors, guides, from your bosses, which is going to elevate your overall level, your designation, or your take-home income. Therefore, this is a positive impact. These two strong Dhan Yogas are giving a positive impact both from a job as well as career standpoint. Even from an education front for students watching this video, it seems to be a very promising period where you are going to elevate yourself. Now, Sun is placed along with an exalted Mars in your Lagna for the first half of the month, which means that you are going to be brimming with confidence. Sun, being the lord of the 8th house, is giving the possibility of some sort of an hidden income, unexpected gains also coming in your life, or unexpected responsibilities that make you to train yourself. Mars, being the lord of 11th, another strong Dhan Yoga, getting exalted in your first, and the lord of the 4th house in the first, is indicating that you are going to be growing your assets, multiplying your assets in terms of its wealth, as well as working towards the right direction to materialize your wishes, goal, targets, objectives in this duration. From February 13th onwards, Sun is going to be entering into your second house, which ensures that now that authority is traversing into your business meetings, your communication, your articulation. Whilst Mars will eventually enter your second house, bringing another wealth yoga into activation, with the 11th lord being in the second, coupled with the other two planets, which is Rahu, Mercury, Venus. I'm sorry, there are multiple planets. Panchgrahi Yoga is getting formed in your 5th house this time around. And quite clearly, with Rahu's own presence in this house, it further indicates that you are going to bring smartness, shrewdness, cleverness in terms of your day-to-day activities, your work-related decision making, or how you market yourself to the larger organization, to your larger customer base. Positives looking all around for you, Capricorn. Good time running. Then when we touch upon the finances aspect, well, the headline is very clear. Venus, your Yoga Karaka planet, is sitting in the second from Feb 6th onwards, whilst Mercury, which is your 9th lord, is also going to be coupled in there. I anticipate good cash flow, good income increase, or wealth increase coming in your way. Now, Rahu is there in the second house, which means that it is going to bring some degree of temptations as well with respect to money, with respect to your spending, because your Lord of expenses, Jupiter, is in the 6th house. So you might want to go ahead and, expand beyond your means, undertake certain loans, and therefore go about your spending, which may which may be out of the extraordinary. And this is what Capricorns, you guys will have to be careful about, because there is such massive dhan yoga. I cannot say that this is a wrong decision. And the reason I say that is, financially speaking, I believe sometimes debt is the right strategy to bring in expansion and growth in your career, in your life. And therefore, when the presence of so many planets are there, that judgment, that call you may have to take, not just on the basis of the transitory movements, but also understanding the natal dasha, antardasha that you might be going through, and the sort of an impact it might have in your life. But overall, Rahu's presence is showcasing sudden explosive growth, especially when it comes in conjunction with Mercury and Venus. I would want to though throw a warning that unplanned, non-strategized move with respect to your job front, with any kind of loans that you might want to embark, especially once Mercury is coming into retrogression from Feb 25th, must be closely monitored, because you could be making one havoc of a mistake at that point in time, which can cost you big time. When we move further and talk about relationships, well, I see there is going to be a heightened impact coming into picture with so many planets being in your second house, and with multiple malefic planets now sitting in the second. There could be a genuine harshness in your speech, especially with your near and dear ones. You could end up insulting a family member unintentionally. And therefore, I will say that you've got to watch out on your tongue, Capricorn, because there is going to be a heightened self-belief, confidence, money or material aspects could be moving way positively for you, which might reflect in negatively, or it could create jealous like situations from your near and dear ones towards you as well, thereby prompting you to reply them in a harsh tone. So be very careful on that front as to how you are navigating in that direction. Now, you've got to also understand from a relationship perspective that your fifth lord Venus is forming a conjunction with Rahu in the second, and therefore new romantic relationships, new connections getting forged, and some sort of an initiative which is out of the ordinary, because all of these planets are giving an aspect towards your 8th house as well. Those kind of connections could become a possibility. New physical connections might also be forged for many of you Capricorns. At the same time, Mercury, being the lord of your 6th as well as your 9th, while it is in the second, but with Rahu, it can bring in separative tendencies. He's the lord of the 12th from your 7th. And for my married audience, it can bring in separative situations as well in due course of time. So be very watchful of how you are. And when I say separative, it just doesn't necessarily mean divorce, guys. It means separation ideologically, in terms of thought process, in terms of argumentative situations that distances you, not sleeping around in the same bedroom. Those kind of situations can always pop up. And the core reason that I anticipate is this cluster of planets in the second house, especially malefics impacting that, which can be very harsh in terms of your interaction. This house is 8th to the 7th as well, and therefore some unexpected third party situations might also be on the rise. As we move towards the health bit of it, I would want to call out that your eyes, teeth, throat area, everything that gets impacted from a second house perspective is going to be extremely crucial. You will have to be watchful of the kind of food you are consuming, guys, because your interest could be in having very rich, high quality, spicy food. Rahu's presence is also there, which might be causing some bit of turbulence, discomfort for you during this while. From a remedy standpoint, Capricorn, what I would want to call out is that since these planets are forming a conjunction in your house of wealth or food, maybe donating some food to the hungry, contributing monetarily, if not actually giving food, but monetarily to the people who can go ahead and buy food of their own choice, may not at all be a bad idea. Feeding the people during this period is going to be a healing activity in itself. And Jupiter is giving an aspect to the second house, so you are going to be further strengthening your initiative if you move in this direction. Now, if you guys have enjoyed the insights that I've brought to the table and the effort that has gone to prepare this video, I'll request you to please smash on that like button, subscribe to Vedic Astrology, and keep watching. Om Namah Shivaya, Har Har Mahadev. So Aquarius, as you guys can see on the screen here, you have multiple planetary positions in your 12th house and in your lagna in your first house itself. And the important bit for you to notice that your lagna lord or your Rashi lord, if you're watching from an Aquarius moon sign perspective, Saturn is placed in your second house itself. Now, of course, if you're watching from an Aquarius moon perspective, you've got to remember this is the last phase of your Sadesati, guys. And we've talked about Saturn's shift into Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra in a separate video. If you've not had a chance to look into it, I will highly recommend you to check out that video post this one. Now, you've got to understand here that the party is at your own house in your Lagna. You are going to be the primary focus as February approaches. And the important bit is that most of these planets will start their transit with Mercury and Venus early into shifting into the first house itself, whilst Mars and Sun will join later. The important bit for you to note here is that Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, Venus, and Rahu, all of them at some point in time by the end of the month of February are going to be in the first house. So you are going to become hyperactive, as well as there could be lots of confusion coming in your life. Let's try and break this down from a career, work, job perspective. I anticipate that you guys are going to be acting like magnets. Why do I say that? Because your 10th Lord Mars is exalted in the 12th at the start of the month, in conjunction with Sun, which happens to be your 7th Lord. And therefore, your karma, especially if related to business, if related to job in connection with a foreign country, with foreign workers, with multinational corporations, with import and export related areas, I anticipate you are going to pump the efforts to the next level. People will feel drawn towards you, given that you are going to carry that level of charisma, magnetism in you, as Sun transits into your first house, bringing immense amount of confidence, self-belief, and leadership quality. But at the same time, the important bit is that you are going to show a lot of submissive behavior, or I should say a lot of amicability. That is, the submission is not the right word here. A lot of amicability, a lot of ease of doing business in collaboration with you, because the 7th Lord eventually comes into the first house itself. This period is showcasing lots of remarkable new beginnings coming in with respect to new educational pursuits, new job opportunity, new career working out for you, or initiating new strategies from a business standpoint as well. Mars happens to be the lord of your third house as well as your 10th house, which means that its exaltation is indicating lots of long distance foreign travel, foreign collaboration, or in the initial part of the month, a lot of your effort could be going in vain as well, or so it would feel like. Fear not, things will materialize. Why do I say that? Because you have your 5th Lord and your 8th Lord Mercury, which is moving early into your lagna itself. So you are going to be full of creativity. You are going to be approaching things with an outside of the box thinking. There will be a lot of research depth into the analysis that you bring. You are going to bring some degree of spirituality as well in how you are approaching things. And he is going to be coupled with Rahu, who is the planet of expansion, multiplication, as well as illusion. So you are going to be ambitious. Venus, which is the lord of your 4th house and the lord of your 9th house. So your destiny, your customers, your gurus, teachers, mentors are going to be supporting you throughout the course of this period and helping you bring that expansion. Not only it is a fabulous period for people who are employed, but also great for people who are business makers and students alike. So your karma, your career in terms of education, in terms of foreign or abroad travel, in terms of new opportunities in pursuing courses or pursuing opportunities with universities in foreign lands, all of that seems to be extremely positive. But I would want you to remember that Mercury is going to be coming into retrogression from February 25th onwards in your Lagna itself, which is going to be creating situations where you start second guessing yourself, where you start questioning some of your decisions. And that is where I was earlier alluding to the fact that there could be some degree of confusion as well, Aquarius, that could be coming in your life. Be aware of them. I think it is going to be important that as you go ahead and progress with your decisions, once Mercury is in retrograde, either you will yourself have confusion regarding those decisions, or you might even sit back and take some slow time to reevaluate the efforts that you've made. And guys, it is not a bad idea for you to do that. It's just that before flipping into any of your choices, think twice. I would not want you to go about doing anything of that sort until Mercury remains retrograded. Then, from a finances perspective, what I notice is that your 11th lord is Jupiter, who is sitting retrograded in your 5th house. He happens to be the holding the entire financial portfolio for you folks. He's the having the lordship of the second house as well, and his retrogression is indicating that money seems to be stable because he's in a very good house. He's in the 5th house for that matter. However, big expansions, multiplications, there is a strong chestabal which is coming into picture. So multiplication of your money, especially through investment strategies, through speculative gains. In fact, with Mars exaltation in the 12th house, I see big investments also coming in from a financial standpoint in your life, especially up till 23rd of Feb. But this retrogression of Jupiter is indicating that there could be some bit of a delay, some bit of a relook into your strategy in all of those areas. So finances could get impacted on that front. The good part is your Lagna Lord or your Rashi Lord Saturn is placed in the second house. Even if you are in the last phase of Sadesati as well from a moon standpoint, folks, this presence of Saturn is not a bad one because he indicates slow, steady, but continuous, stable, long-term growth. So play on that era. Now, quickly pivoting towards the relationship aspects of things, you have multiple planets getting into your first house itself, and this can create a highly overwhelming situation or situation where you are extremely self-involved with your decisions, with your life, with what is in it for me. To make matters worse, Ketu is placed in your 7th house, which tends to bring a certain degree of separation, alienation, distance from your business partners, from your spouse, in your marital relationships as well. Jupiter is sitting retrograded in your 5th house, which means your romantic relationships are also not at their best, and there could be some sort of a review, some sort of a peak that is required. Rahu is sitting and giving an aspect to that 5th house as well, and therefore it does bring the risky situation of one looking out, trying to do things which are probably not ethical, especially if you are in a relationship. Remember, Rahu will come in conjunction with Venus for a major part of this month, and therefore your energy to play around or be promiscuous to a certain extent is going to be high. To make matters worse on this regard, 8th Lord is in the Lagna and it is going to become retrograded. He is your 5th Lord as well, Mercury, and in touch with Rahu. So yes, Aquarius, I would warn you to be extremely careful with respect to your relationship management. Do not be too self-absorbed because there is seemingly some sort of friction which is coming into play, and it appears as if your counterparts, party around you, your spouse, your romantic partner, your business partners could feel tad bit alienated as well. From a health perspective, this indicates to be a high voltage period because there are so many planets present in your first house itself on top of your head. Please be watchful of any kind of headaches, migraine kind of situations. Burnout could be a real thing because you could be exhausting your energies to the fullest. Meditation is going to be highly crucial and one of the most important remedies that you can practice through the course of the month of February. I will advise you, Aquarius, that you must find some time for yourself. If not in the mornings, probably in the evenings, where you are able to meditate. And there are so many forms of meditation. You choose what is your poison and go about following it. Wearing light colored clothes, maybe maintaining certain hygiene standards for yourself during this period with so many planets being in there in influence of Rahu is going to be crucial so that you are able to bring in and attract some sort of a positive energy within you. Now, folks, if you've liked the effort and the insights that I've brought to the table for February monthly horoscope, I'll request you to please smash on that like button, subscribe to Vedic Astrology, and keep watching. Om Namah Shivaya, Har Har Mahadev. So Pisces, as you guys can see on your screen here, while the entire world is going to be busy partying, you are going to be activated with your 12th house energies in the sign of Aquarius in this month. Now, at the start of the month, you have an exalted Mars sitting with Sun in your 11th house itself. And as I had given some of the very important, crucial readings for you for the month of January, where promise of gains, wish fulfillment, success is promised, that behavior, that flow continues in the start of the month with two planets definitely placed in your 11th house, but Mercury, which happens to be the lord of your 7th and your 4th, is going to be making the first shift into your 12th house, whilst Venus, which happens to be your 3rd lord and your 8th lord, is also going to be forming a Viparit Raj Yoga and be moving into your 12th house right after. In fact, Mercury is going to be coming into retrogression as well during this period. But presence of Mars, your 2nd lord, into the 11th house and exaltation is forming an extraordinary Dhan Yoga. This is where Sun, which is your 6th lord, is placed 6 places away from itself. Again, giving a strong promise that you will be able to find some success in your job, career, work front. Starting with your career, business, job opportunities, I think you are going to be working behind the scenes for a major part of this month. But success will either flow in January or something will eventually work out at the start of February in itself, which is indicating good solid gains for you folks. The other bit that you have to understand is that since Sun is 6th places away from the 6th house, you will be finding some sort of a success in competitive situations, which means students watching this video and business owners, self-employed people who are getting into these tough negotiation situations, competitive bid scenarios, you should be able to find some profitable leads, some profitable deals for yourself. If you are in a regular job, you will find that in the second half of the month, you might find yourself tad bit invisible because Sun is going to be moving into the 12th house. But it continues to form a very strong Shatru Hanta Yoga with all of these planets giving an aspect towards your 6th house. Yes, Ketu is placed there, but Rahu, Sun, Mars, Mercury, Venus, and even Moon at one point in time in the last part of the month, all of them will be in your 12th house. Then you've got to also understand that from a career or from a business perspective, your 7th lord is already moving 6 places away from itself into the 12th. And therefore, some sort of hiccups, some sort of difficulties could be coming your way this month around. It is not going to be the most opportune period from a business standpoint. It means that there would be an increased amount of effort needed from your end, or some sort of complications come that keep you occupied. After all, your 3rd lord of effort is also into the 12th. A lot of your effort could go wasted. I will recommend that bring some degree of spirituality entangled into your areas of work. Then it also brings the possibility of some sort of a growth leveraging spirituality or international connections. If you are working in a multinational corporation, it's going to be a good period for you to find success in that sphere. It is also going to open the doors for you in terms of leveraging import-export opportunities, and that is where the positive impacts of your efforts could also come into picture. However, with so many planets in the 12th house, what you could feel is that whatever work you are doing is almost futile, invisible, or you feel it almost less important of sorts. Now, this is important for you to understand because there are times when we are involved in activities and engagements which may not appear worthwhile in that duration, but they do carry a meaning in the long term. This is a transitory reading. Your natal birth chart and its positions are going to be crucial. And therefore, my simple urge to you is no matter what sort of a work, what sort of an opportunity is coming your way, figure out a way to navigate through those circumstances, because eventually this planetary shift is going to bring you in the limelight in future months to follow, Pisces. If you are watching this video from a Pisces moon standpoint, Saturn happens to be in your 1st house itself on top of your head. And with multi-planetary positions, 12th to your moon, natal moon, is indicating that yes, it can be a period where you feel almost confused with what you have to do. There could be too much coming on your head, too much to handle, and you will have to strike a balance eventually in terms of navigating this smoothly. Your Lagna Lord or your Rashi Lord, Jupiter, is also placed in retrogression in your 4th house. And it is giving an aspect to the 12th, 10th, and 8th. So yes, career, work, profession, etc. is important, and there could be general lack of peace as well from work, career, profession, because Jupiter happens to be the lord of your 10th house as well. But I think as March approaches, beyond the month of February, on all these areas, you are going to find yourself settling down. When we move towards the financial aspects of things, quite clearly, whilst the first part indicates gains coming into picture, the second half is indicating high degree of expenses coming into play. Of course, Rahu is at function and he is now going to activate so many planets. In fact, Grahan Yoga is going to come into play for that Sun, as well as its combination with Mars, Mercury, Venus is indicating that you are going to be involved in expenses of sorts. Now, how useful or worthless, that is something that you will have to figure out. These expenses could be coming in terms of travel, it could be in terms of gifts, donations, charity, that is a positive spending, or in the form of investments as well, where you want to buy something worthwhile of luxury, or buy property as well of sorts. That possibility also comes into picture. Mars is in the 12th house in combustion, which is indicating that some sort of medical expenses, medical treatment could also be coming into picture for some of you Pisces. This may also be in connection with a proactive health checkup, health related expenses with new opportunities coming your way might also be materializing. My recommendation will be find a way to donate something in terms of charitable activities to a temple, to Gurdwara, church, mosque, whatever place of worship you believe in, guys. And also figure out a way that how you can do some bit of strategic investments proactively. After all, from a moon sign perspective, 5th house is ruled by your moon itself. But since the 8th house of speculation, of will, of inheritance is moving into the 12th, a Vipareet Rajoga of sorts is getting activated for you folks. So these investments, these expenses can materialize positively as well if you are keeping a frame of what I've called out earlier. From a relationships perspective, Venus is providing a good opportunity for bed pleasures, for sleep. Venus in 12th is not a bad situation, and privacy, intimacy of sorts could be on the rise. Now, this connection is happening for Venus with Rahu as well in the 12th house, and therefore some sort of additional connections outside of what you would ethically be able to follow. Those kind of connections, secret connections, could also come into picture. From a relationship standpoint, I also want to call out that multiple planets are placed in your 12th house, which is the house of secret enemies. And therefore, a lot of difficult situations, gossips, discussions about you behind your back, those kind of things might also be coming into picture through the course of this month. Do not give too much heed into that, because eventually you are going to settle in any which ways. Ketu's placement in the 6th house is going to just help you move on. Now, I've done a video on Rahu Ketu karmic axis as well in detail, where I've given a lot of insights. If given a chance, I'll request you to watch that video as well, and it'll give you a lot of clarity as to how you should be planning your 2026. As we move further, I would want to talk about your health perspective. Now, because so many planets are placed in your 12th house, and if you are watching this specifically from a Pisces moon standpoint, I see your sleep could be getting disturbed. There could be situations of insomnia, lack of enough rest coming into picture, or you could be developing some sort of feet pain, ankle pain, right at the bottom of your feet. Those areas will require some bit of an additional care. Find some mechanism to get proper sleep, because that is going to be one of the most crucial things, Pisces, you could be doing for your health through the course of this month. Last but not the least, from a remedies perspective, I want to call out that doing some sort of meditation, and as I was alluding earlier, donation or charitable activities will be extremely helpful, because that 12th house positioning of multiple planets is demanding expenses, is demanding intervention on that front. Even spiritual involvement in terms of your time is going to be crucial. Working out as well is going to be very promising, so look into that bit too. Now, folks, if you've enjoyed watching this video, I request you to please smash on that like button, subscribe to Dev Astrology, and keep watching. Dev.